We intently look forward to hearing the viewpoints of our eminent speakers who have joined us for the inaugural session. He is the first CEO of one of the earliest cellular ventures in India, Sterling Cellular Limited, and led the successful launch of the largest Indian cellular network of that time. We are truly honored and privileged to have with us today our guest speaker, Shri TV Ramachandran, DG Broadband India Forum. Telecom connects the entire country, and we will now have Shri TV Ramachandran share his viewpoints on telecom ecosystem in India.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Member T, Member S, Mr. Ravikant, Professor Paul Raj, Mr. Alagason, Mr. Aram Agarwal, Professor Kiran Kuchi, all eminent, super eminent people on the dais, distinguished delegates, officers from DOT, etc. It's really a great privilege to be here, and I cannot thank ITI and the CMD and Mr. Aram Agarwal enough for giving me this opportunity to say a few words about the telecom ecosystem. And that's a very fitting title they gave, because the real theme today is about 5G and IoT and all that. And in the presence of such technology giants like Professor Paul Raj, who's in the Hall of Fame in the US, in the presence of Professor Kiran Kuchi, Mr. Aram Agarwal, and Member S and Member T, it would be pointless for me, it would be stupid for me to try and talk about 5G and all that. So it's appropriate that I've been asked to say not more than 8 minutes on the telecom ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a few slides. I don't know whether you're going to be able to show them. And is it coming? Huh? Oh, have the first one, please. The title slide. No, the previous one. Indian, okay. What we are going to try and say in 8 minutes is about the Indian telecom story, that ecosystem, because that's very pertinent when today we are talking about entering the world of 5G and IoT. An entirely high-tech area we are entering into, and at this point in time, I would say that some people who don't know the background, some skeptics, some naysayers may think, how will we do it? We are behind other countries, we are following, India cannot hope to catch up. I sometimes hear all such talk and I get very disturbed, because that is totally incorrect. If you know the background, that's why I want to give the background of telecom in India, particularly of mobile communications, because I've had the great fortune to be associated with that even before the first mobile license was issued in 1994. In November 1994, the first license was issued, and I took the first license as the CEO of SR Cellphone Sterling Cellular in Delhi. And I can tell you that much is there to be learned from the past, which will be a source of inspiration for going forward. At that point in time, in 1994, 1993, India had zero mobile communications and less than maybe 0.5% of fixed line penetration. Telecom was in a very, very difficult state. It took 30 years to get a telephone connection. It used to figure in Parliament. And what was important was our neighbors, our smaller neighbors, like Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, they all had analog mobile telephony. Most of the world had analog mobile telephony. Western world, Eastern world. India had neither analog nor digital. We had zero mobile telephony and very low fixed line telephony. That was the state in 1994 when we came in. First licenses are issued. And the remarkable thing about this is, what is my greatest admiration for this Ministry of Telecommunications and Department of Telecommunications is that, as many of you would be aware, in 1992, 93, 94, GSM Digital was not launched really in a big way anywhere in the world except in Europe, where it was being tested. I was part of the GSM MOU group, so I can tell you, 92, 93, 94, only field tests and beta tests were going on in Europe, among the 13 countries which signed the MOU for GSM. And that was a really path-breaking digital standard that was coming in to replace analog. And most of the world was on analog. Here, in Sanchar Bhavan, the policy makers, you would not believe it if I tell you today, they took that decision. The tender which was floated in 92, 93, some of you would recall that, it specified mandatory GSM digital standard for the new mobile telephony. Mark my words, mandatory GSM digital standard, which was not even commercial in the world. People didn't know whether it was going to be a success or not. That much of far-seeing vision was there in DOT and ministry to leapfrog from analog straight away to GSM digital. And that was a remarkable stroke for India's progress in mobile communications. Because the rest is history. After you all know how it has skyrocketed in India, and we are now one of the envied nations in mobile telephony. So the moral there is, ladies and gentlemen, we should not be afraid of 5G. We should not be afraid of IoT, that other countries are maybe ahead of us a bit. We can do it. As Indians, we can do it, and I'm exceedingly impressed by the facilities of of ITI, and the dedication and passion which came from Mr. R.M. Agarwal's speech and Mr. Alagesan's drive and leadership. I think you all can do it, that we can take us very, very far into the 5G and IoT area and in the new startup technologies. It should also like to remark at this point in time that it has not been a path of roses for us right from 1994. When the first mobile licenses were launched, and I was there November 1994. Second slide, please. This is one thing I would like to impress upon the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, some of you who have done economics would be very familiar with this sort of curve. It's like a classic curve, a graph from a textbook of economics, supply-demand curve. And this is the history of telecommunications in India. If you want to talk about telecom ecosystem, this is what we need to see. And the world is learning from this, that we started in 1998-99 with a graph not even showing at the bottom in terms of number of connections, the red, and when the tariffs were sky high, how whole thing it came down tariffs, the pickup of connections, and it has now gone to second only to China in the number of connections. And I'm sure we'll soon overtake them. So one might think that, oh, is that coincidence? Is it a stroke of luck? Is it a fluke? I would say no. Because you will find on this graph, every point of inflection is marked by some specific action. It's all there. I don't want to go into detail, time doesn't permit. But every one improvement has happened from policy and regulatory actions. I am not making up this curve. This curve is there on the regulator's side. It is there from the more than 15 years. So this is the way things are going, and even the latest disruptive entry of new player, how it's shooting up the data rate. You'll see more of that later. But this is the story of Indian telecom, how things can be made to happen in India, where we started from a zero or negative base, how we have now come to one of the most envied in the world through various actions. And that's why at the bottom you will see I have a quote from John Kennedy which says, "Things do not happen. Things are made to happen." And this is a classic instance of that. We in Telecom, in Indian Telecom, have done it, the department, the ministry, the regulator, and the industry. It is in fact what I would say the result of entrepreneurship, forward-looking policies, and enabling regulation. Continuous discussion and engagement. The story of reforms is a story of engagement, discussion between industry, government, and regulator. The creation of a regulator was itself a result of the discussion between industry and government. The story of NTP 99, as you all know, before NTP 99 came in August 1999, India was in a very bad state. Companies were collapsing. Even companies like Birla IDNT exited after a huge debt. Koshika went bankrupt and closed. People could not pay license fees. This government, in fact it was at that time Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government, did a fantastic thing, what was not done anywhere in the world. Similar disasters have happened in US, the PCN disaster, in Europe 3G, in Indonesia tariff disasters. Their governments did not have the vision to do what was done here at that time. Here the government initiated the formulation of a new policy, NTP 99, which brought in competition, revenue sharing, and skyrocketed growth. From less than 1 million, we started exponentially rising, and tariffs fell overnight from 16 rupees down to less than 4 rupees, and today it's far less than half a rupee. So in India, the telecom story is all a story of competition. Competition coming in, story of engagement, story of innovation. Next, please. So that is, next please. So that is what has happened in India. It shows you that we are able to do it and we can do it. It's the way it's happened here. When I say story of innovation, that's what we are talking about today. Encouraging startups, facilitating Make in India. All these things are an issue. And with 5G coming in, 5G is really the hotbed of innovation. The amount of scope there is for innovation there through new apps, new developments, new verticals is fantastic. And that is what we need to address. Next, please. This one. In India, and how this shows how India has done it from an absolutely data-poor country, one of the lowest in the IT rankings. We are now rapidly climbing up to a data-rich nation. One of the highest in terms of volume of data which is happening in India. Data usage per month, you can see at the bottom, it has gone up from FY18 less than 1.4 to today 6.8 GB. It's a fantastic, fantastic increase. Next, please. Next, please. How the entry of the new player has completely shaken up the market, increasing data traffic. I'm pressing on data because broadband. See, telecom as we know it is passé. There is an expression in English called proverb. The king is dead, long live the new king. Like that, telecom is passing on, yielding way to the new digital communications, as the policy is also coming out and saying, digital communications, broadband, 5G, these are the things that matter going forward. And we are now capturing that scenario. Next, please. So I would like to not take time further. I was told 8 minutes. I think probably I'm close to that already. I would like to reiterate that in India we have got tremendous potential. Indian engineers are the ones who go and make American engine work. Indian engineers are the ones who go to other nations and make things work. Why? We can do it here, and I'm telling you with confidence, as one from the private sector, that we have done it here in India with the help of government and regulation. It is not that industry was left high and dry. Government and regulation have done it. The classic example today is the high-level government forum where Professor Paul Raj is the chairman of the committee. And that multidisciplinary forum is trying to bring in 5G and all the new technologies in a very proactive way. So we can do it. We have done it. And I think ITI is the right venue for this. Today is the right day. I'm greatly privileged to be here. I would request all of you to give a standing ovation to ITI and Professor R. M. Agarwal. Please stand for this.